Welcome back. Great work reading Paul Revere on your own and filling out your own graphic organizer. Now I want to see, did you use an STORY planner or a making text that seemed very complicated planner? Which one? If you used a making text that seemed very complicated organizer, give yourself a high five. That is correct. This is an informational text, so we want to make sure that we're using our informational text graphic organizer. Now that you've had a chance to read the text on your own, we're going to come back together. You're going to listen to Mrs. Lardner read through the text. And while I'm reading, I'm going to be annotating for topic sentences, and then we'll come together again and talk through what the main idea of this passage is. If you've already read the text, you know that this is a pretty good graphic to describe Paul Revere, but let's go ahead and dive into it. Okay. Paul Revere. Paul Revere was born in 1735 in Boston. He learned to read and write in school and was a very smart boy. He was the son of a wealthy silver maker, so Paul grew up and learned how to make things with silver too. He made dishes and cups. To make extra money, Paul got his first job when he was 12 years old. He rang the big bells at church on Sundays. He did not know it then, but Paul Revere would become one of the most special people to help the United States, the US, get freedom from the British. That to me is sounding a little bit like a topic sentence, and I know authors most of the time put the topic sentence either at the beginning or at the end of the paragraph. It's telling me what the information in that text was leading up to, what it was mostly about. When he got older, Paul married his first wife, Sarah. They had 8 children together. Guys, I have 1 son, and it's real hard. I don't know how they did it with 8. My goodness. He gave his silver making business to his sons. He also became a dentist to help take care of his family. After Sarah died, Paul married his second wife, Rachel. They had 8 children too. Goodness, that means I had 16 kids that he was taking care of? No, thank you. All right, that, seems to be a paragraph that's talking a lot about biographical information about his life, how he is as a person. Sometimes authors are going to put in paragraphs like this to help you know more about the person that you're reading about. This right here is not really showing me that there's a topic sentence. It's just some biographical information. So I'm actually going to skip this paragraph and I'm going to go to paragraph 3. Then Paul became part of a group called the Sons of Liberty. That sounds kind of important. This was a secret group that did not want to be told what to do by the King of England. They wanted the freedom to make their own laws and choices. Paul and the secret group had to have private meetings. I need to think about what sentence is really giving me an idea of what this paragraph is about. The first paragraph, then Paul became a part of a group called the Sons of Liberty, is a sentence that's letting me know what is going to be happening in the rest of the paragraph. The rest of the paragraph talks about how it was a secret group, what they wanted, and how they had private meetings. But all of those wouldn't really make sense if we didn't know that he had joined the group called the Sons of Liberty. That's my topic sentence. Let's look at the fourth paragraph. Paul Revere was a fast horse rider, so he brought notes back and forth between the secret groups, kind of like a messenger. He had to be careful and keep quiet to not let the British know what he was up to. Well, the fact that he was a fast horse rider seems kind of important, but really this idea that he brought notes back and forth between the secret groups, that's my topic sentence. It tells me what that paragraph is mostly about. He used his horse to get there, and he had to be careful and quiet so the British didn't know what he was up to. Next paragraph. During this time in U.S. history, there was fighting between the British and the Americans. British soldiers had to watch over the towns to make sure everyone was getting along and listening to the king's rules. The Americans were not happy about this. I wonder what sentence here could show me what this paragraph is mostly about. Well, I know that if the author hadn't told me that there was fighting between the British and the Americans, the rest of this paragraph might not make a lot of sense. The idea that the British soldiers had come, they were trying to watch everybody, the Americans weren't happy about it. Those two things are supporting the idea that there was fighting between both the British and the Americans. Next paragraph. In 1770, the Americans were mad about being watched so closely by the British. They had enough. They threw ice, snowballs, and rocks at the soldiers. They laughed at the soldiers to see if they would fight back. The British military shot their guns back at the people, and 5 were shot. Paul Revere drew a picture of the fight and put it in the newspaper so everyone could see what happened. Man, a lot of important stuff just happened. Sounds like there was a fight between the Americans and the British. The Americans were throwing ice and snowballs and laughing, and then all of a sudden the British started shooting their guns. It seems like it escalated pretty quickly. But what sentence in this paragraph is going to help me understand what it's mostly about? I want you to think for a second. What is the topic sentence of this paragraph? When you think you know, I want you to put your hands on your head. Wow, you guys look really silly right now. What's the topic sentence of this paragraph? You're right. The topic sentence here is this first sentence. In 1770, the Americans were mad about being watched so closely by the British. Everything else in this paragraph is supporting the idea that they were mad. Why did they throw ice and snowballs and rocks? Because they were mad. Why did they laugh at the soldiers? Because they were mad. This really tells me what the paragraph is mostly about. All right. Paul Revere is most famous for his midnight ride in 1775. His job was to tell the U.S. Army that the soldiers were coming. He rode on his horse all night to give the important message to the Army leaders. He needed to warn them that the British were planning their attack. I want us to stop for a second. Normally, like in times like this, if we wanted to tell somebody who was really far away something that was happening, we could just send them a text. We could send them a snap. We could give them a phone call. We could do all of these things to let them know instantly that something was happening. Back in 1775, when Paul Revere was making his ride, they didn't have cell phones. They didn't have Snapchat. He actually had to take a message, a written message on a paper, and ride on his horse from one place to another place. And he had to ride really fast to make sure he got to the Americans before the British actually invaded. Guys, that's crazy. Okay, little history fact aside, what sentence in this paragraph is really telling me what the paragraph is mostly about? This idea of what his actual job was is really important. It was his job to let people know that the British were coming. The sentence that he was riding his horse all night, he needed to warn them, all supports the idea that he had a job to do, which was transporting or sending a message. Let's look at the next paragraph. He shouted to everyone that rode by, start over. He shouted to everyone that he rode by down the streets, "The British are coming, the British are coming." There's that famous Paul Revere line a lot of us already know. What's the topic sentence here? Well, this is kind of a smaller paragraph. It's not really going to have a topic sentence, and that's okay. Let's go to the next one. He also put a light in the tallest tower of the church to tell people the British Army was coming. This gave the U.S. time to get ready for the battles. These were the fights that started the war. The sentence here that makes the most sense as our topic sentence is going to be the first sentence in the paragraph. This sentence right here, that he put a light in the tower, is supported by the fact that it was there to be able to give time for the U.S. to get ready for the battles. And the idea that these were the fights that started the war is a little bit of extra information the author gives us. Paul Revere was in the Army during the war. After the fighting had stopped, Paul Revere went back to do metal work like he did when he was a kid. He made church bells like the one he rang out at his first job. Later, he opened a store that made the tools and parts to build boats. He helped build some ships that were used in other American wars. This seems to be a paragraph that's telling me all about Paul Revere after the fighting had stopped. This right here is more biographical information. I don't need to find a topic sentence here. Let's look at the last paragraph. Paul Revere was important because of all that he did for America. He helped win the war against the British. He kept secrets from the British and was fast on his horse. He was the perfect person to get the job done. This to me seems like a conclusion paragraph. It's really wrapping the entire text up. When I'm looking specifically, though, this idea that Paul Revere was important because of all he did for America, that is supported by that he helped win the war because he kept secrets and he was fast on his horse. These are all reasons why he was really important and why he was the perfect guy to get the job done. You guys, we just read another text. You read a text about a really important person in American history, Paul Revere. I want you to go ahead and just give yourself a little pat on the back. That was a tough text. You read it on your own and then you listened to Mrs. Lardner. Now what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that as you are reading, my topic sentences matched up with what you thought the topic sentences would be. We're good? Awesome. Now that you know what some of the topic sentences are, you're going to actually scroll down in your form. You're going to answer some questions. I've snipped some pictures of the paragraphs here, and I want you to tell me which of the sentences is going to be the topic sentence. A little spoiler here. All of these paragraphs are paragraphs from the text that we just read. So you're going to be able to remember what you watched in this video to help you get the correct answers for all 4 of these questions. Once you're done with that, I want you to go ahead and press next, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.